Greetings, YouTube. If you hear any explosions outside, it is because at the time of this recording, it is July 4th at 9:19 p.m. So yeah, there are people firing explosives outside, and my cats are all hiding. I'm not really shocked at that. Now, we've talked about random magical effects in the past, and we're going to be referencing the semi-comprehensive list of random magical effects version 1.00 by no one in particular. And this was done back in the days of TSR. It is a 114-page document that covers 6,999 options for wild surges. Now, I don't know how many of you out there remember wild surges, but second edition had a wild surge feature that you could play a wild surge mage, and you'd have a random action happen when you rolled your chance to cast a spell. Actually, you'd succeed at casting the spell, but every time you'd roll, you'd see if you had a random effect. Sometimes you had no effect. Sometimes it was a good effect. Sometimes it was a bad effect. And when it was a wild surge, then you had you needed a random effect to fill in that slot. And I believe the game had, like, I don't know, 20 or 40 of them or something. It wasn't enough for us, so someone named no one in particular went out of their way to come up with this list. Now, I know that we have done this kind of thing before, but I'm kind of in the mood. So I have pulled up a random number generator, and the first one I found was 5,250. So I have not looked that one up. I just made sure the generator was working properly before I hit the go button on the camera. So let's go 5,250. Here we go. Am I close? Am I close? I am close. There, here we go. 5,250. Target's footprints rise 2 feet high when he steps from them. That would have to be a temporary effect. And I have to say, it's one of the more bizarre effects I've ever heard of for a wild surge. That's just weird. All right, number 2, we have 3,197. 3,197. Oh, I almost got there. Here we go. Any water carried by target turns to roast beef gravy. Now realize that if player characters are targeting somebody with magic, it's very likely the goal is to kill them. So they're not going to find this. And I have to admit, how many people ransack the dead for their water bottles? But just in case somebody did, it would be a very strange thing to find that there is a bottle of roast beef gravy instead of there being refreshing water. Alrighty, 1,030. We're going up, or lower numbers. 1,030. Almost there. Here we go. Caster loses 2d4 experience levels and appropriate abilities. Holy crap! 2d4 experience levels? I could not do that to somebody. Even if it was a 9th level spell, I don't think I would do that to somebody permanently. I could see you doing it as, you lose them, but each day I'd let one come back until you finally get it back, because that is brutal. I mean, that's you could kill someone because of that. They're just not going to survive it with the same kind of challenge ratings that the group is going to be experiencing. That's just mean, man. Alrighty, 16, 17. My brain kind of always assumes that I starts trying to think of things that happened during those years. I can't think of anything that happened in 16, 17. Casters' boots are constantly full of scalding steam. Well, okay, 2 questions. One, is it just that pair of boots? Or 2, is it all boots the caster puts on? And again, how long would this effect last? Because that's dangerous. You suddenly scalding steam, you're going to have second at minimum degree burns in seconds. That's cruel. That is really cruel. Um, but if it were just that pair of boots, you could probably find a use for that somewhere down the line if you had a pair of boots that were constantly full of steam. Steam is a useful source of power. Just heat. Okay, 6,352. I am not really keeping track of these numbers, so I don't know how many I've done so far. I'll do this till I get bored. Was that 6,300? 6,300. 6,062. Here we go. All sleeping creatures within 1 mile awaken, which is very magical spellcasting kind of vibe, you know, like there's a disturbance in the force kind of thing. I don't know if it would have any appreciable effect on the situation at hand at that moment, but it may cause hassles if people in the area can somehow link that event with the players, because they're going to be assuming that the players are up to some kind of horribly nefarious task endeavors because they woke up an entire countryside. That's not going to be viewed well. You're not going to get good deals at the tavern that way. Okay, was it 66? This next one, 6607, 66. We're almost going all the way up to the end. 6607. Okay, 6607. Here we go. Nearest cave fills with toxic volcanic gases. That could be very dangerous, because what if the nearest cave is like a mine and it's full of NPCs just like people mining? But then again, what if it's a dungeon? You know, suddenly you've just wiped out an entire dungeon, you wait till the gas dissipates, and then it's Loot City. Of course, you may not even know about it. Say if you're doing this battle on a plane and you're nowhere near it, you don't even know where the nearest cave is, you're not looking for the nearest cave, and suddenly the nearest cave is death, full of death. That could be, again, you probably don't want that to be pinned on the player characters. 2,427. 2,427. 2,427. Well, I stopped on the right spot. Caster's spellbook appears to be ablaze whenever he opens it. That's cool. Sorry, if it's just like, if it's just like a ever-burning torch kind of vibe, I like that. That's a cool side effect. Funk, and people are like, don't worry about it. It's just a flaming page. That is a wonderful texture kind of thing. That's a wonderful history kind of thing. The things that accumulate over time with people that spend their time encountering the strange and the unusual. 1427, 15th century. What's going on in 1427? Anybody know what's going on in 1427 off the top of their heads? I don't remember. Here we go. Castor thinks that he is made of sand and must not get wet. Why would you care if you were made of sand? And why would you be afraid of getting wet? Sand gets wet all the time. It's still sand. In fact, it's considerably more durable when it's wet. Much more durable than when it's wet. I don't know why you'd be afraid of that. All right, we're going to do one more just for giggles. I don't know how many we've done. Not paying attention. 3392. 3392, pretty much close to the middle. That's not a bad place to stop. 3392. Here we go. Next fire set by target sings like a robin while it burns. That could be long term. I mean, in the sense that you would not necessarily know this effect has happened unless that particular character is the one that starts the next fire at a campsite. But maybe they're not the one that does that. Maybe there's a ranger in the party who always does that, so that the next time that happens could be a long way down the line. Also, it'd be difficult for their GM to remember that one. But if they did, that would be quite intriguing and would probably freak people out, because they're very unlikely to connect the singing fire with an event that happened months in the past. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So this has been, you can back to the title, the Semi-Comprehensive List of Random Magical Effects version 1.00 by no one in particular. So go find yourself a copy of this. I stumbled upon this again while I was poking around my hard drive at some old gaming files. I can't quite tell you why I was doing this. I think I might have been in a bad mood. And when I get in a bad mood, sometimes I poke around at stuff just because it distracts me. Boy, do I not want to listen to those explosions in the background. I can tell you that right now. Um, I don't have PTSD when it comes to explosions, but I still don't much like them. Alrighty, so that's been some semi-random wild surges. So let's talk about wild surges. Have you ever used them? Were you familiar with them prior to this video? I always thought they were kind of cool. I believe that there is a wild surge variant out there for Pathfinder, and I'm sure it would not be difficult to apply it to any of the modern iterations like Pathfinder or D&D, or any fantasy, high fantasy setting at all. Random surges could always be fun if the person wants to live in a world where their spells could be more powerful or less powerful or result in a wild surge.